Welcome back for another Green Box Politics Classic. I'm your host, Red Stimmerage. Salute, ladies and gentlemen. So in this episode, we're going to take it to the south side of Atlanta, Clayco, Taylor Road. And we're going to talk about a young man that I actually grew up with. He lived in the same neighborhood that I did. He stayed a couple of houses down. And this is someone that I used to see every day, had a direct connection with him, used to interact with him all the time. So this one hit home, once again, man. And this one did hit the heart, especially back when, this situation went down and we all first heard about it. So we want to use this tape for, both educational and entertainment purposes for whomever is listening. But the main lesson that I want you to get from this, at least some of the older brothers in the streets, a lot of guys that are in our communities, some of them may have older brothers, some of them don't. But something that's a consistent theme is that, of course, the missing father figure in some of the homes. Some of us may have had our father in the household, some of us didn't. And those of us that may have not lived with our father, but maybe our father used to come over and pick us up and we got to go hang with him. And then you had some of us maybe who didn't interact with their father at all, and he didn't show up to come pick them up and hang out with them. So you got these various, dynamics and situations on how these young so-called black men either are interacting with their father or they're not interacting with their father. And a lot of the times when the young brothers don't have, their father in the home, and they may not have an older brother in the home that can give them some type of a guidance and instruction, give them some jewels and wisdom on life and help them figure out certain things that they may be wondering and pondering upon. What they'll do is a lot of the brothers in the community, in the neighborhood, in the streets that are older than them, that they're growing up with, they will subconsciously, get guidance and learn from those people. And if the older guys around you in the neighborhood, if they still are maturing in certain areas, and if they still are making, poor choices and trying to figure out and learn who they are, unfortunately, that will, spill over to the young guys that they are around. And some of the negative influence that the older guys may be, some of the negative activities that the older guys may be participating in, it can rub off in a negative way on the young guys. So the main lesson I want you to get in this tape is, older brothers do have to show accountability, more so in just your conduct, your behavior, and how you carry yourself. Not saying that these young guys in the community are your responsibility, but you do got to understand that they watch us. They may not tell you how your behavior and personality is rubbing off on them and it's having an influence on them, but subconsciously and indirectly it is. And they may not even know this, because when they get older and they go off and certain things that they do and they may think it's okay and it's cool, they may not even know that subconsciously they got the A-OK from the older guys that they were around by thinking that the behavior was cool because they saw them expressing that same behavior. Now, the reason why I'm using that as the preface to this, because the brother Devonne King, he grew up with us in our neighborhood, but he was from the younger generation. So in our neighborhood, it was so many people that we grew up with that you kind of had to split us up in generations. So you had the older guys, that I came up under, and these dudes was all at least maybe like 2 or 3 years older than me. And then you had myself and me and were we were the youngest people that were hanging with that crew. All right. But then up under us, you had my younger brother, my biological younger brother, and a lot of the people that he was hanging with in his crew. Okay. So Devonne was, one of my brother's contemporaries. He was about 2-3 years younger than myself, and he used to hang with, my younger brother in the neighborhood. So I would always be around Devonne more so, of course, just seeing him in the hood, or if I'm over there kicking it with my brother, saluting my boy Maurice, he was always with them as well. But basically, we all lived on Mountain Pass. It's a neighborhood. It's a street within Taylor Road. Within Palisades, rather. And Devonne stayed down the street. So, he was always on the block, always, in the neighborhood, easily seen, easily visible. Everybody always outside. Now, my earliest memories of Devonne, they all are comical because, as I've said once before, basketball was a very, very powerful force in our neighborhood. It was something that brought us all together. It was something we would use to sharpen our skills in competition. And it was something that we used almost as like a gladiator pit to train each other, in the ways of manhood and life. And we used to use it to toughen each other up. We used to use it to, see who could perform at a high level. And it was a sense of companionship and camaraderie that we got from basketball. So basketball is very, very spiritual when it comes to Palisades and everybody that, grew up in the neighborhood. Some of us was into it a lot more than the others, but majority of us was playing basketball in the neighborhood. So, whenever the older guys would be out there playing, of course, I was always with them, but the younger guys, they was there watching. And down the street, they would be playing, on the other basketball goal, at my boy Maurice's house. That's where my younger brother and Devonne would play basketball and stuff. But my earliest memories of Devonne is, I can remember back when we were coming up, the feud and the battle between Allen Iverson and Kobe Bryant was big. Like in that early 2000s when I was in middle school and like my early high school years, Kobe Bryant and Iverson were these two powerhouse players that everybody liked to see feud and go against each other. And, in the neighborhood, it was kind of the same. So, for example, my younger brother, he was basically the most dominant basketball player of his generation, of his little crew of people. And, and then he would also play with us sometimes too. But, a lot of my friends, they were older and bigger. But he got his skills sharpened by being with us so much. So when he would go back and play with guys around his age, he would just destroy them, and this was it just was something that was going to happen. You know what I'm saying? It was organic. I mean, think about it. He's Blackbeard's younger brother. So you already know what time it is. So he would always be destroying them. And I can remember one day it was this young guy, young slim guy. He had a little small afro. And I remember he would start playing basketball with them. But this dude was very, very aggressive, very, very intense. Like he saw himself as basically like he thought he was Kobe Bryant, and he was talking trash to the older dudes. He trying to play against us. And I remember even playing against him, like he going super hard. You know what I'm saying? Like he trying to drive against niggas and cross people up and, Euro stepping and trying to jump into you on the layup. So I'm like, man, who this young nigga is, like thinking he really finna come run something on the court. You know what I'm saying? I remember just thinking like this dude got a lot of confidence, like, and he got my attention. But when I found out that he was around my brother's age, I was like, oh, wow. Like, now I got somebody that I can use to talk trash with my little brother because, my little brother, the boy Red Stick Houdini, was, he was destroying everybody his age. So I used to always wonder, like, damn, I need a young nigga that can really, like, go against him, somebody that can kind of be on his level. So I could sit on the sideline and just talk shit, and make them hoop against each other, right? And that young man happened to be Devonne, And Devonne saw himself as like this young Kobe Bryant. He had that type of swag, and his confidence was just through the roof. Like, it's just comical sitting here thinking about it. But that man had a very, very high self-esteem when it came to his basketball game on the court. And he thought he was better than everybody, So I could just remember when Red Stick Houdini and Devonne would play against each other. To me, it was almost like this Allen Iverson versus Kobe Bryant matchup. And that's how I used to kind of market it, talking trash. Like, my little brother, he was Iverson, Devonne, he was Kobe. So they was always going back and forth. And, it just was some classic battles to watch them play against each other. And also in our neighborhood, too, we would like go to other neighborhoods and play against other neighborhoods on the south side, so we would literally just walk over there, damn deep as hell, playing other neighborhoods in like 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, depending on what the size of the court was. So that was something also that Devonne and my little brother used to do. Like they would go to other neighborhoods playing 2-on-2, 3-on-3 tournaments. And of course, Palisades, we was always destroying everybody. So we was holding the crown, whether it was the older generation or the younger generation. But the I guess the memories that I would want you to have about Devonne, since you starting to understand, this man's personality and his character, and you're trying to picture him in your mind, I want you to think about the basketball, think about how this man was a competitor on the court. Think about, how he was a team player. Think about how he had a lot of confidence in himself. He didn't get intimidated by the older guys. Cause, I was out there trying to, all the young guys, like I tried to rough him up. and getting them tough and get them mentally strong and emotionally strong. Cause I was like the older brother, and all my little brother's friends, they was like my little brothers to me too, and so Devonne, he was no different. But Devonne was a real Palisades basketball legend, man, and he just really was out there in the hood with us. But I think what ended up happening is that when a lot of the street violence starting to take place, and we had these neighborhood conflicts, and the Southside Mafia, the Amtuda Mafia versus Hit Squad, MOB 23, when that rivalry started to increase and evolve, now you're starting to have groups of cars going to other neighborhoods, either jumping out and trying to fight, or groups of cars going to other neighborhoods, getting in little shootouts and things like that. So when we had that stuff going on, Devonne was, and the young guys, they were there to see that. They were there to see it. They heard about the stories. They went to some of the schools we went to. They may have just had either been in a younger grade, or while we was in high school, they was in middle school, but they were there to see that behavior. And, like I said, too, a lot of the older guys in the neighborhood, the young brothers looked up to us, because a lot of them, they didn't have an older brother. And some of their fathers was in their lives, but some of their fathers were not. So, the older guys in the neighborhood, man, they probably were looking up to us in certain regard. But, when you growing up yourself, you may not know that. So you don't know that the way you carry yourself and your conduct, it may have a negative subconscious influence on some of the other guys. And when I say a negative impact or a negative influence, it's more so just in the area of, if you're a young guy and you growing up in the streets, you see the older guys, they hanging out in the streets, they getting into these little gang conflicts and stuff like that. So now that you may think it's okay to do. So now when you get a little bit older, you find yourself getting involved in these same situations. And unfortunately, I think that may have been the case with the young brother Devonne, because once it got to like around 2006, that's when, myself, my brother, and my mother and sister, we moved from the neighborhood. And a lot of the other guys stayed, but, at certain points, like, guys started to move away out the neighborhood. But when we moved away, that South Side energy and that culture and just that way of life, it followed us no matter where we went. So some of that aggressiveness and some of that intensity, it went with brothers to wherever they went. Some guys went to other cities, some guys went to other states, but that South Side aggressor, it went with them, and sometimes that could lead to conflicts in these new areas you go. And then also too, it's not like you got the whole neighborhood there. So you by yourself now, you know what I'm saying? And when you by yourself, you got to use a lot more discernment, to to survive in these streets. But I want to talk about the unfortunate situation that happened with the young brother Devonne, and just want to say a rest in power, rest in peace to his soul and spirit. And hopefully he can continue to have, another life experience at some space and time in, the universe or the creation that we all live in. All right. So what I want to do is we're going to read this article, because the situation happened in Kentucky, and we'll start from the top down, and we'll read about what ended up happening to, my young homie Devonne. So before I read this, just want to say a rest in peace to the brothers Devonne, and power and love to his family, and people that are closely associated with him, because Devonne, he had multiple sisters. Another thing I want to say too, the boy Devonne, man, he a lot of crazy, funny stories with him, but I'll give y'all one. So I remember one time, I was at home chilling, and I remember my brother, he came over, and he was like kind of panicking. So I'm like wondering, like, damn, like, what happened, man? He was like, man, this dude Devonne done damn burned down his kitchen. I'm like, what you mean? He said, man, we was over there kicking it, whatever, and I guess Devonne was trying to make some French fries. And you know how you got some French fries, they in the grease boiling up, it's hot, and then you got the fries cooking on top of the stove, right? But while the fries were on top of the stove cooking, at that time period, Devonne wasn't really aware. He wasn't paying attention. So what ended up happening is the man whole kitchen basically got scorched. And I remember when I went over there and saw it, I was just like, oh no, like, bro, you done fucked up. Because I remember Devonne's mom, like, my memory of her, like, she didn't really go for that, you know what I'm saying, BS. So I was just scared for him. I'm like, damn, bro, your mom gonna be on your ass when she get back. And I think his mom had like a boyfriend or something like that. So, you know, he had an older man around, but I don't think it was his father necessarily. But I just remember being scared, like, damn, Devonne, like, you done damn fucked up the whole kitchen, bro. Like, in here trying to cook some damn fries. Like, what are you doing? And, I mean, looking back on it now, you know, we kind of can, you know, laugh about it and stuff. But at the time, man, it was like, damn, bro, like, you done literally scorched the whole fucking kitchen trying to make these damn fries. Like, damn, bro. But that was just a little funny memory I had of him. Another one, too, is that, you know, back then, you know, like I told you once before, like, you know, the brothers, we ain't really had no money like that. And when you out in the streets either hooping or something like that, or maybe y'all just out casually doing your thing, shit, everybody, we may want some food. You know, we want something to drink. We want some snacks, etc. And so something else used to be funny is, you know, when the younger guys in the generation under me, when them boys was hitting them big licks, man, them boys was literally going up Taylor Road, going to the stores and stuff like that. And they would come back to the neighborhood, you know, coats and pockets and, you know what I'm saying, jeans and pants just filled up with snacks and cakes and drinks and chips and all type of stuff. And I could just remember them dudes coming back just loaded, man. Like, them niggas was over there eating like kings, you know what I'm saying, from all the gas station little stuff they had gotten. You know, if they may have went to the little, it used to be a hot wing place by the Citgo gas station on the corner of Taylor Road, or they may have been, you know, at the Dollar General hitting big licks over there. But, you know, looking back, it's just kind of comical now. But that was just another thing that was used to funny. Like, Devonne and Lil Bro used to be hitting big licks back then, man, big licks. But just another little, you know, comical memory of, you know, Devonne and, you know, just keeping the brother's name alive in a more positive, humorous way. You know what I'm saying? We want to think positive of these people when we think back. But let's read this situation, man, and so you can get an understanding of what happened to Devonne and, you know, learn whatever it is you're going to gain from this. So this is coming from WLKY, which more than likely is a media outlet in Kentucky, okay? It says, 4 men arrested in connection with Terrell Lane slaying. Victim identified as Devonne King. So what ended up happening was, you know what I'm saying, my young nigga, man, he ended up being shot and killed. And you had 4 guys basically that, you know, bum rushed him and caught him off guard. And there was a conflict that went down, you know, and unfortunately the ending of it was, you know, Devonne ended up being shot and he lost his life. So let's read a little bit about this. So it says, victim identified as Devonne King, and the reporter on this was Corey Pippin, all right? And it was updated on August the 15th, 2014. So it says, Louisville, Kentucky. New details were released Friday about the city's most recent homicide. Louisville Metro Police said 23-year-old Devonne King was killed inside his apartment near Bashford Manor early Wednesday morning. 2 of the 4 suspects were in court Friday. Police said King was shot and killed in what police called a burglary turned deadly. The most recent arrest in the crime happened Thursday night. The first arrest came Thursday when police said 24-year-old Raekwon Carmichael turned himself in. Hours later, 34-year-old Freddie Lee Downer Jr. and 28-year-old Muhammad Jawad were taken into custody. On Friday, 21-year-old Benny Thomas is also facing charges, and a community is now mourning. Quote, unfortunately, I know how these things pan out, and it takes a toll on everybody, bottom line, end quote, said community activist Christopher Two Times. Police said Carmichael, Downer, Jawad, and Thomas forced their way into King's apartment in the 2000 block of Terrell Lane. According to the arrest warrant, Carmichael was armed with a handgun. Inside, investigators said they attacked King and then shot him. Police said the suspects left in a vehicle, which was later found 3 blocks from the scene, abandoned and set on fire. King was taken to University of Louisville Hospital where he died. Downer and Jawad appeared in court for the first time Friday and are being held on a $50,000 bond The same as for Thomas. Carmichael's bond is $100,000. 2 Times said the most important thing to do now is spread a message of peace to avoid reoccurring violence. Quote, the number one motivator are the children that inhabit those areas and how they perceive these things and their future because they're watching the grown-ups despite all the pain and turmoil, end quote, said 2 Times. According to the arrest warrant, Carmichael, Jawad, and King were neighbors. All right. And that's pretty much the end of the article. So let's go from the top down and give an analysis of, what happened. So at the time period, what I'm saying, my boy Devonne, he was 23 years old. And these 4 guys, bum rushed his home because I asked my younger brother, I said, man, what do you really think happened? Because he knows Devonne very well. He knows his personality, his temperament, how his mentality was, etc. And as I said, Devonne, he was aggressive. And Devonne, he did have a mouth. And, and Devonne would sometimes, not let things go if it may have been some type of an issue. And he would kind of keep talking, you know what I'm saying? So you got to look in this situation. Majority of these guys who approached Devonne in this, they were older than Devonne. I think this guy, Carmichael, I think that he was around Devonne's age, and I believe that he was the one that shot Devonne. And these other 3 guys, they were just in association with Carmichael in this situation. So, of course, none of us were there. But when I asked my brother just what he thought, being that he knows Devonne, he was saying that more than likely it could have been some type of a conflict with Devonne and this guy. But they all had to know each other because they lived in the same neighborhood. According to this report, 3 of these guys were Devonne's neighbors. So it wasn't like these were some random guys that didn't know him. Now, this is saying that it was a burglary that went wrong. I'm not really sure about that part. But what I do want to speak on that I probably can attest to a little bit, is the part that little bro was saying that maybe this was some type of a conflict or an argument or some misunderstanding with Devonne and one of these guys. And this guy came over there real late at night in the early morning. And they, created this situation with Devonne where they basically bum rushed him. They jumped Devonne and then later on he was shot. So as far as, if it was a burglary, as, if these guys may have taken something from what they were when they were over there, I don't really know. Was Devonne possibly trapping, or did he have some type of a resources that these guys may have wanted? I'm not necessarily sure. But what we do know is that these 4 guys, they bum rushed my nigga while he was by himself. They jumped him, and then he ended up being shot, I believe, 1 time in his chest. And he died from, the complications when he was taken to the hospital. So, it says that, a couple of guys were on bond, and then this dude Carmichael, his bond was $100,000. Now, it was something that this community activist said that, I kind of want to talk about a little bit, because I said, the young brothers and the young guys in your neighborhood, in your hood, etc., they may not say it, you know what I'm saying? And they may not even consciously be aware of it, but they are watching what the older guys are doing. And this does inspire their behavior a little bit. Now, when Devonne went to Kentucky, I don't know if he went and started getting in certain gang and street activity there, because when I was growing up with him in Palisades, you know what I'm saying, he was aggressive and they had their little stuff going on. They was fighting and, breaking in houses and doing little stuff like that. But I don't really remember him getting involved in gang activity like that. But what I can tell you is that when he went to Kentucky, Bill, he was coming from Riverdale. He was already extremely piped up. And he already knew about certain things in the streets and how to move, and like he was already skilled. So when he went to Kentucky, he more than likely took that Clayton County energy and mindset with him. And this probably, may have gotten involved with certain street stuff up there. You know what I'm saying? And making certain affiliations and associations up there. And, when you do that and you're around certain guys, of course, it leads to conflict, and unfortunately it can lead to a situation like this. But this guy 2 Times, he said, quote, the number one motivator are the children that inhabit those areas and how they perceive these things and their future because they're watching the grown-ups despite all the pain and turmoil. So you know these young brothers, man, they trying to figure themselves out. They're trying to figure out what is my life purpose, what is my life objective, what am I good at. They going through puberty. They're trying to figure out their own sexuality, how to interact with women or females the right way. They're going through middle school or elementary and high school, and they're trying to figure out, what do I want to do post school. It's a lot of things these guys are trying to figure out and learn, and they turning and looking to the older people in the community for those answers. Especially if they don't have nobody in the household that can tell them. So Devonne, he saw the pain and turmoil that the older guys in his neighborhood went through, because we had friends that were being killed, friends that had been like shot and stuff like that, friends that had their doors kicked in and shot and mobbed by people. And we had friends that were being arrested. So Devonne grew up hearing them stories and seeing that happen in his neighborhood, because he knew these same people. He knew the older guys in our neighborhood. So, this could have had somewhat of a subconscious influence on him, as far as thinking that maybe certain things in the street are okay. And because like around the time a lot of this stuff was going on with the older generation, me personally, I remember when I was getting in trouble from it, and, and my life was being damaged in certain ways from this stuff. When I was with the young guys, I would tell them, man, like, how to move, and certain things weren't okay. But, by that point, a lot of the damage had been done, at least with us, so it's kind of hard when you trying to tell somebody to do the right thing after they've been seeing you do the wrong thing. And I know a lot of the young guys in Palisades, they did look up to me, because I was somebody that was very unique in the neighborhood, just based on how my personality is, and my high level performance and the various activities that young guys were found popular at that time, whether that was basketball, dealing with the women, being good at school, the streets, etc. Like I was pretty much high level in all that. So, they probably, saw some of the crap I had going on, man, especially Devonne, because he was real close to my brother. So, through the gang fights and little stuff we had, I just don't know maybe how that affected him. Now, I'm not saying that what we did was, of course, led to his demise and it forced him to make the choices he made. He was his own young man, and he made his own decisions. But the only reason I'm saying this is because I want those listening to this that still in certain communities to understand that these younger brothers, they are watching us. And when they grow up and they, move on their own, if they saw us wilding in the streets and doing certain street stuff, you can't really be surprised when they get themselves involved in that, when they get a little bit older. But, we want to be able to stop that vicious cycle of pain and turmoil. And a lot of that is by, teaching the young guys conflict resolution. A lot of that is by communicating with the young guys and letting them know, like, look, I may have made this area and I may have made this mistake in this area, but you don't need to do this. I went down this road, but, oh, bro, you need to go down this road. And being able to communicate that to them, because if you're a little bit older, you should be able to express yourself and have a little bit more knowledge and wisdom on life, and be able to distribute that information to these guys. And if they choose to listen, good. And if they don't, that's their choice. But, if you just somebody and you're around young so-called black men, black American men, they're having conversations with these young brothers on conflict resolution and communication, and letting the ego go, being willing to have a conversation and not always willing to run to the gunplay or, run to the fist fights or run into, stabbing somebody up. Maybe it's some kind of a conversation that can be had, and we come to some kind of a resolution through this, So that's the ultimate lesson that we should get from this, is that, the young brothers are watching, and you want to influence them more in a favorable, positive way. Whether and that could be, once again, man, y'all boys go ahead and finish the high school program, graduate from high school, actually get the degree, try to graduate on time. And then after that, man, figure out what you want to do with your life as far as getting you some real legitimate money. Whether you want to do the college thing, whether you want to create you a business, whether you want to go to a trade school or, pick up some other type of skill. Just motivate and inspire these guys and let them know, like, man, that is cool. You can do that. Y'all can pipe up and wear, the Gucci, and have your Hellcats and the SRTs and other stuff the young guys into. Y'all can get that same stuff by doing legitimate, work, by having your own business or, maybe for the time being, you got you a little job or something like that. Ain't nothing wrong with that, but playing in the streets, man, and dancing in the devil's playground, I just, that just isn't necessarily the move to make, but yeah, older so-called black American men, we got to make the right thing start looking cool. You know what I'm saying? We got to start making the right thing look cool. So these brothers that's coming up after us, they'll feel confident and comfortable to do the right thing, And I'm going to just be real with y'all. A lot of street niggas and brothers that come from the streets and certain activity in the streets and got a face card and known from the streets, we have an easier time on influencing the younger so-called black American men than any other men in our, ethnic national group. We just do, we just do. So how about we start using that influence the right way, in a more righteous way, okay? So I want to go ahead and conclude this tape, man. Rest in power to the young brother Devonne King, the real Prince of Palisades. Real legendary hooper. The young Kobe. My nigga, man. And hopefully in the spiritual plane, in that right space and time when it's all appropriate. Hopefully the Almighty Creator will allow us to have a gathering with some of these people that we may have lost and we had these good life experiences with, man, because, like I said, I got a lot of joyful memory, from these people, man. And Devonne was one of them, man. A lot of joyful memories, in particular when we on that basketball court, man. So another Green Box Politics episode. Y'all stay tuned for the next one. We out.